Today, by the way, hello. Today, we're going to kind of follow this pattern here. 1882, a Nietzsche, a guy who's just, you read him and you want to hang yourself. He declared, God is dead. 1966, Time magazine asked the question, is God dead? 2011, with all the things that are going on. On this program, we're going to declare today, God lives, He's involved, and He's waiting for you to notice and respond. And I'll show you exactly how I know He lives and is involved and what I'm going to show you an individual. I think He's sending you a message. He's kind of inside, screaming to get out, sending you a message that, no, I am not dead. Wait. Don't go anywhere. This is a show you don't want to miss. Come on. Well, hello, America. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about Israel. Israel is about the size of New Jersey. It is this little itty bitty country right here in the middle of all the fire. Okay? It's surrounded by happy nations like Egypt and Libya and Saudi Arabia and Yemen and Bahrain and Iran and Jordan and Lebanon and Syria and Turkey. It's great. And as these nations, one by one, go through unrest and regime changes, all of the change is a little more hostile towards Israel. One glance at the news, and it's easy to see the momentum is not going in the right direction if you care at all about Israel. I want to show you what's happened generally in the last 24 hours or so. Just since we met last night, and you tell me, are things getting better or worse? Yesterday, UN General Secretary Ban Ki-moon said Israel needs to end its occupation of the Palestinian territory and called the so-called occupation morally and politically unsustainable. Then Turkey, remember, a member of NATO. Hey, wait a minute, we're about to turn this whole thing over to NATO. That's so good that Turkey's in there because nothing spooky happening in Turkey. The Turkish Deputy Prime Minister called for Turkey to strengthen its relations with Iran. That's going to be good. Yeah, in order to solve some of the regional problems. What are problems they might solve in Iran? Last I checked, Iran was talking about triggering the return of the Mahdi, or the 12th Imam, by, chaos and bloodshed and vaporizing Israel. But it's a good thing Turkey's on board now. A senior Iranian military commander says recent developments boost Iran's regional power in that region, and the recent uprisings in the Middle East are a wave of Islamic awakening. Great. Iran, by the way, also busy. They're cozying up to Lebanon, another one of those countries on fire in the Middle East right around Israel. Top officials from the two nations have just met and discussed the need for unity and solidarity among the regional nations. Oh, man, this is going to work out well. By the way, in a completely unrelated story, this happened just a couple of days ago. A cargo ship. It's around here someplace. Cargo ship. Those are Navy vessels. There's the cargo ship. It was just intercepted off of Israel's coast and headed into the hands of Hamas in Gaza. Now, here's the disturbing part. The Israeli Navy made this discovery on board. Show me the gifts inside. Look at that. It's like a Pez dispenser, except missiles come out. Missiles strong enough to take out Israeli Navy ships. Oh, and the cargo ship was from Iran, who's strengthening their ties with everybody around. And the missiles, they're Chinese. Now, there's something else going on. And coincidentally, the same time that SEIU's Stephen Lerner is expected to march people into the streets here in New York to try to collapse the Dow Jones, our economy, and take down JP Morgan Chase, a story that nobody seems to care about, radicals on the left are also planning to take the Freedom Flotilla 2 to end the siege in Gaza. Now, this is similar to the one Bill Ayers and Code Pink were all about supporting just a few months back in the summer. By the way, while we're here with the lovable Bill Ayers, who the president he never knew. He's currently in the Middle East with his wife, Bernadine Dorn. Now, she's the one after Charlie Manson, stabbed that woman to death, the pregnant woman with a fork, and then they all sat down and had dinner. His wife was the one that said, "Far out," and then they ate with the dead chick on the floor. Oh, she's still a sweetheart, and there's still a couple of lovebirds, but they're in Beirut now. This was taken just a few days ago, but here's what they're talking about now. They're trying to teach people about a new world order. Listen how everybody in the world can vote. It's great.
What if you say, every resident of a country with an American military base within its borders ought to have the right to vote in an American presidential election? That causes a different kind of way of thinking, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
I mean, imagine, hundreds and hundreds of millions of people voted for the American president from countries as diverse as Cuba and Italy and, wherever. What a great idea. Well, I don't know if you think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea.
He does think it's a great idea, just like all those great ideas they had back in the 1960s when they were plotting terrorism together with the Weather Underground. Hey, I wonder, I haven't checked the border, but then again, nobody's checked our southern border for a while. But I wonder if we checked, maybe Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dorn are on some sort of terrorist exchange program that we don't know about in the Middle East. Could be. He went on to say that that's why Obama really was over in Germany before the election, running for president of the world, pretty much. Isn't that great? Now, 24 hours ago, a Facebook page was up, but it was finally taken down last night after complaints flooded into Facebook to have it removed. The page called for a third Palestinian uprising. The original page were calls to take to the streets, but that's just what the president said. Take to the streets, you kids, you crazy kids, a digital age. Get up, revolution, it's neato. Well, on this page, there were motivational quotes like this one. I love this. Judgment Day will be brought upon us only once the Muslims have killed all the Jews. What? The page had more than 340,000 fans. Natalie Portman, the Academy Award, the one who's like, I'm a ballet dancer. She has 477 fans. So it's pretty much the same. They want to kill all the Jews. Really like Natalie Portman, and they're going for her for the Oscar. Also, a little story that I saw in the news is probably not even worth mentioning. Just about 2,200 Marines and sailors from Camp Lejeune are just getting ready to deploy, to Libya. That's on a ship just off the coast. No big. This is an air campaign. What? All right. So you have all of this going on simultaneously. And it was all triggered by the spontaneous uprisings. They happened overnight. Remember the stories? The administration was taken off guard. They were surprised. They didn't know what to do. Yeah. President needed time to figure out how to respond because it was so crazy. Could I be a burr under his saddle just for a second? Could I just interject a little reality? Could I just show you what we have found? I know it takes, 87? 87 people at Media Matters all day long just to take what I say to you here and then try to smear it and turn it upside down. 87. And they're hiring more with George Soros money. But us 10 little people here that do the research on this show, 10. Look what we found. Wouldn't it be amazing what, like somebody from ABC News, what they could find? 10 on this program found this. Reports in an Egyptian newspaper are now revealing that the Obama administration met with members of Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood way back in the time machine, 2009. The Brotherhood reportedly expressed to the administration their support for democracy and that war on terror thing. Now, any sane person would say, I think you're lying. But as we've seen, this administration went right along with it.
The term Muslim Brotherhood is an umbrella term for a variety of movements. In the case of Egypt, a very heterogeneous group, largely secular, which has eschewed violence and has decried Al-Qaeda as a perversion of Islam.
(2009). So they're back in talks, saying, I heart you, you heart me. Yeah, then we can all get along. Let's go for democracy. Then, way back again in the time machine, November 2010. That's last fall. Not too far in the distant past. In the midst of the midterm elections, when nobody was looking, there was this story. Man, I wish we would have seen it then, huh? Obama, NSC, meets with Egypt democracy advocates. The article reports that top Obama National Security Council officials met with a group of bipartisan foreign policy experts who advocate the U.S. get more involved in, of all places, Egypt. What are the odds? Now, these bipartisan groups, they have all kinds of people involved. They have Project on the Middle East for Democracy, Human Rights Watch. They have the Carnegie Endowment. They have the Brookings Institute. They have Freedom House. And, of course, we know Center for American Progress. Let me show you. This is so crazy. This is crazy. We know that George Soros is involved in that one. So, and that one, and that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. But also at the table, on the Obama side, was the completely neutral Samantha Power. She's half of the most dangerous couple in America. I'm going to put her over here because I say he's the most dangerous man in America, Cass Sunstein. She's her, Danger is her middle name. She's an aide to Obama. And just in the last 24 hours, she was described by Time magazine as, quote, the foremost voice for human rights within the White House. She has Obama's ear, according to the executive director of Human Rights Watch. Human Rights Watch? Have I seen that before? Oh, yeah, that's right. George Soros's group. This one. These are also all of his groups, but this one is the one I'm talking about that just said this about her. How do they know her? Well, she wrote this book, Problem from Hell. It's about genocide. But she's not just an author. No. This idea was so good that somebody said, I like that. I like that. Call her up. The many faces of George Soros. Hey, it's me. I'm not so evil right now. I just want to say, you're genius. Why don't you get together with my charity group? So she did. And then they spawned, you ready? The Global Center for the Responsibility to Protect, which gives us the responsibility to protect doctrine, which sends us into Libya. Isn't that weird? By the way, Open Society, only one of two of the foundations that bankroll this whole idea. So, it was her idea that George Soros creates a foundation that gets this whole responsibility to protect thing through the very same doctrine that was used because she has his ear. I wonder who has his other ear. Uh-oh, I remember now, her husband. So the U.S. military action in Libya is based on this. And this is these are all the very diverse people that got together to say back last fall, hey, by the way, we should do something about democracy in Egypt. Now, the New York Times caught on to some of this today and wrote, the president's decision to pursue that course is something of a personal triumph for Samantha. Samantha, mazel tov. I mean that, Sam. You should be so proud. You're a big girl now. But let's go back to her influence in Egypt. Way back in November, she's the one who met with all the many faces of George Soros to figure out democracy in Egypt. What should we do, Georgie Wargie? Here's the report on the meeting. Participants who attended the meeting were reluctant to get into the real details of what the NSC officials discussed. Oh, I bet. But they suggested the meeting comes in the midst of the Obama administration conducting a review of its policies on democracy in the Middle East and a significantly stepped up focus by senior Obama administration officials on the Egyptian democracy issue in particular. So this is months before the spontaneous uprisings for democracy in Egypt. All out of the blue. Now, out of all the years for the Egyptians to come down with a freedom bug against Mubarak and get to the streets protesting, it's shortly after the administration steps up the efforts on, what do they say, the Egyptian democracy issue? Wow. And a lot of the experts from the administration told all of these guys, like this guy, and 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 then her, who's sponsored by this guy, they had quite an argument with themselves. Well, the White House, they were warning that putting pressure on Egypt could harm the Palestinian-Israeli peace efforts. But all those guys won. Somehow or another, they all got together on that. And the delegation moved forward, stressing that stability in Egypt is an illusion. And we have to get on the right side of this thing. So they didn't either care about stability or they knew something about that Egyptian stability that no one else did. You know, something that would make it go unstable or make it an illusion. I wonder if they had any contacts at Google or Facebook, or if they knew something else that has been right in front of everybody's face, but nobody in the media has even caught it. Oh my gosh, you should watch tomorrow's show. Watch tomorrow. Remember, while Mubarak was a dictator, he played nice, protecting Israel. Can you go to the map, please? Put the map back up here. See, Israel, is right here. And Egypt was the only thing that kept everything from going up in flames. Big hole in the line of defense now, if you take out Egypt. As we showed you, they are surrounded. I don't know if you've ever been to Israel, but I have. And what is striking about it is how tiny it is. Yet there has never, ever been another country like it on earth. One that disappeared about 2,000 years ago, and it was prophesied that it would come back and play a huge role. Now look how small that country is. There's no country that has disappeared, prophesied that it would come back, and then 2,000 years later did and was this important. That's kind of weird, huh? This is an important place. There's a reason why this postage stamp is fought over by everybody. It is the place where man first listened to God, the Temple Mount. This is where it all begins. Judaism believes this is the place where God gathered the dust to create Adam. Abraham was set to sacrifice his own son, Isaac, right there. Muslims believe this is where Muhammad's ascent to heaven was from. It's where Jesus turned over the tables. It's where Christians believe Jesus is coming back again, probably sooner rather than later, I'm just saying. 3 of the world's major religions stem from this postage stamp. And when you're there, you really realize how small it is. And yet, the Temple Mount, this right there behind that wall, it just calls out to you. That's me, the fat belly right there in Israel a few years back. This weekend, I was in Texas. And I want to tell you what I realized when I was in Texas. It's very similar to what I realized in Israel. I'll do that next.